Hello, everyone. Turn on the power. Ooh, start getting yourself relaxed because we're going to have a really good show today. Some really nice things are going to come about from this show that's going to set some things clear. First, this has been a crazy week. Funkdefino in Portsmouth. Yo, that was off the chain. I could have still been playing there from now to the other night on Saturday night. I flew in for that gig. Fabulous. Tony Broad, Russ, the gang, the staff, Kylie, his fiance. That's Tony's fiance, Kylie Cox. Incredible. And I want to wish them a wonderful and safe holiday in Turkey because they're out there right now. Also, another thing, send your prayers and, positive thoughts to these people in Israel and Palestine. This thing is serious, and I'm just hoping it doesn't erupt into a world war, because Lord knows it's not going to end quickly, and it's not going to end the way we like it, but it must end. And please hurry. TikTok, we're doing really good. So I'm starting to replay shows on TikTok so that you guys can experience some of the older shows that you've never seen or you didn't know about. And now you can actually catch them right on TikTok. Who would have ever thought I'd be a TikToker? Because I was like, oh, I don't want to go on TikTok. Oh, I hate TikTok. But you know what? I've been proven wrong. TikTok does work. And we need more places to show this show. And I was talking to this young man that I'm going to bring up in a minute because he's young at heart. He's got a lot of energy. And from time to time, we run into each other. Last time I saw him was at Ministry of Sound. For a gig a couple months back, and he ran up to me. He's like, yo man, I gotta do the show. I was like, of course, he's definitely on my radar, but the problem is it's like I gotta try to get everyone on this show, and we don't have that much time. So I try to handpick and try to fill in the times if I'm not traveling or doing things. The most important part, I want to thank DJ Spen yesterday for being on his show, the Tuesday night show with listening to demos. And he said something to his viewers, and I want to thank him for. And he said, Lenny Fontana, through the 1990s, led the pack, right? And so he was talking about me as a house DJ and record producer, because in those days, it's all I ever did. And eat, breathe, repeat. Got on a plane and did it week to week, city to city, strength to strength, ran to record labels, did all that stuff. But he said something that really was profound. He said, now trailblazing with his new show, True House Stories. And he is a trailblazer. I take that to heart. Nothing comes close to what we have produced for this show. And I'm so glad all of you realize the importance of this show and what this show brings to all of you. We get to unearth history from time to time, things that never were written, never were said because of circumstances, situations. And the wonderful thing about it is that we get a chance on this show because I don't cut off my people. And you'll hear why. Because I always wanted to make sure you felt that we were in just having a conversation. It's me and the camera. It's me and you. Just like I'd ask you, hey, how you doing today? And then you'll tell me, and we'll just start talking and chat and shop. And that's the way it needs to be. So, welcome to True House Stories. I'm Lenny Fontana, coming out of New York City. And New York has an affection with the UK. Back and forth, Chicago too, and I've always seemed to be like, why are you always going New York, Chicago, London? New York, Chicago, London. Well, a lot of things happened in these three cities, New York City, Chicago, and London. There was a time in the 90s where you would go see, may he rest in peace, Paul Trouble Anderson on Wednesday night at the Loft doing his thing, rocking those sounds and playing everybody's new American records. And you're sitting there going, oh, that's my record. Oh, that's Jovan's record. Oh, that's such and such's record. And it's Booker's record, or Phil Asher, or whatever it would be. But it was like, that was like the Paradise Garage of the time in London. And this is why I'm coming to this now. I'm bringing up this man who started in the 80s playing reggae, okay, and R&B, cutting dub plates before they were called acetates, just called cutting dub plates, doing his thing. And in the 90s, like everything else in life, dance music is becoming the profound thing that everybody's getting into on both sides of the ocean. It's becoming more accessible and more in your face, and it makes it a lot easier to want to be part of something that's all around you. And it kind of lends itself to the musics of R&B, soul, reggae. It has the smorgasbord, I should say. So wherever you follow your allegiance to, if it's reggae, you'll find, believe me, Raga House or something that would make you say, that works for me. So this man, Booker T, found his place. And it's not like he left reggae behind. He just stepped up into the rest of us and said, I'm going to take a piece of this action and I'm going to do it my way. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the man himself, Booker T.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening, bro?
Hey, what's up?
Easy, Lenny. How are you, sir? You all right?
My friend, how are you? Everything good?
Yeah, man, I'm fine. I'm here. Just chilling, I'm here ready for you now.
That's important that you say that, because we were talking off camera about being still left and being here.
Yeah.
I was talking about Trouble. Trouble's no longer with us, of course, but he was a very part to this house music thing, right?
Yeah.
But let's not bring tears. Let's actually celebrate life too. Let's talk about you.
That's right.
So,
yes,
because I know you got a lot to tell us, Booker. So let's get right into it. First question I ask, and then the rest you go, my man. Here we go.
Yeah.
How does music find you as a young kid?
Music, man, it was about my life, man. I love music. When I was growing up, my dad used to play music indoors. There was a lot of parties at my dad's house and that, So I used to be a little kid sitting down on the stairs, listening to my dad and my mum and her friends partying and hearing the reggae music and that. Plus the area that I grew up in Brixton, South London. So South London was more of a sound system culture back in the early 80s, well, 70s, kind of late 70s. That's when I got into the sound system culture, So I started playing reggae first, mainly dubs, classic reggae, lovers rock, and I joined a sound called Ito Rockers that was from an area called Lando Road. That's more or less in Brixton, in between Clapham and Brixton. That was the first sound that I kind of followed and started hanging out with. I'm just going to run through a quick thing about my reggae vibes and all that. Yeah. So that was the first sound I started following, a sound called Ito Rockers. And the next sound I joined was a sound called like Frontline International. That's where I got my skill of getting dub plates, cutting dubs. I was kind of like a runner for this guy called Natty Frontline. He used to be the main selector for Frontline Sound. So what he used to do is to give me the tapes, and I used to go to the dub cutting companies to cut the dubs. I used to go to Music House, but that time Music House was in Finsbury Park, and another place called Terry Newman that was in Swiss Cottage. That's where I used to go and cut dubs. So in the 80s, I was cutting a lot of unreleased stuff that was coming out from Jamaica, exclusive dub plates that I was playing for the sound, for Frontline Sound. So that's the kind of music that I was cutting then. And then after that, I started doing my own little thing, and I joined a sound called Taurus High Power. And that sounds another Brixton sound that I started being a main selector for, along with a guy named Jeremiah and Lefty B. So on that level now, I was getting dubs from Jamaica myself, going to the dub cutting house, cutting at Terry Newman, cutting at Music House, cutting all over the place just to play exclusive dub plates against other sounds like Saxon, Tubbies, Coxon, you know, Nasty Rockers, loads of different sounds in South London, Unity, Hi-Fi. There was loads of different sounds anyway, but those were the sounds that I was kind of messing with back in the early 80s.
How important was it for you to cut those plates? Could you have done it just on the record? So what was the reason for someone like yourself as a DJ to cut those acetates?
Well, the reason why we was cutting them because it was the first one who plays them first, you know. So they were exclusive dubs. They were exclusive tunes that wasn't out yet. So for us to play them exclusive, we had to take them to a dub cutting place to cut them so we can play them out exclusively. That was the main thing we was cutting dubs for. You had the release versions and you had the dub plate versions. So what we used to do is go to the dub cutting. So we cut this for exclusively for us to play, or whichever sound that you're playing with, you know. So that was the main reason.
Do you remember how much it was to actually cut those plates?
Well, I can't remember. Back in those days, I think it was like maybe about 50, 60 pounds or something like that. It was quite expensive back in them days, man. I'm sure it was about 50 quid or something. Maybe a bit less, could be about 40 pounds or something like that. I can't remember that way back, but I'm sure it was about 40 pounds or something like that. And that was expensive back in them days.
Yeah, no, that's
but they were 10 inches as well. They weren't 12 inches, of 10-inch dub plates.
10-inch, right?
Yeah, 10-inch dub plates, yeah. 2 tracks aside, man. 2 tracks.
Okay, so give us the landscape of what London's like, because you know the sound system culture is a big thing in the 80s.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys actually, was it, for example, I remember Norman J talking about this too, and his brother, you know, they had Carnival. It was pre-Carnival. They were just building the systems and just taking them out. Was that what you were doing too as well?
Yeah, we was doing that as well, but we was playing more in clashes at like big town dances, clubs, big clubs like forays and all that. It's like 3 sounds in one dance, and we're all playing against each other, playing to the crowd, but we're playing against each other, plus playing who's going to be playing the best tunes and the hottest tunes and the tunes that's not out yet. You know, so that was the kind of thing. It was more like a sound clash thing, you know. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that's because people, you know, they don't understand how important that sound clash was. Like, yeah. I went to Carnival, I understood it. But most people, if you never experienced it, you don't know what that's like, you know?
Yeah, well, it's DJs. It's kind of like DJs against DJs, isn't it, really? You know, sound system crews against different sound systems. Who's got the best music? Like DJs playing now, you know? If you've got 5 different DJs playing in a party the same night, every DJ's going to try to play the best tune, aren't they, for the crowd? So that's what it was, really. But the thing was different. We all had our own sounds. So 3 different sound systems in one club. Right, so you've got a crew over that side with the sound system, another crew over that side with their sound system, and my crew over my side with my sound system. It's whose sound system sounds the best and who's got the best music.
That's
and who's
right.
got exclusive music as well, you know?
Booker, did you do it for money in those days?
No. I didn't even get no money, man. I just did it for the love. Getting to know people. No, I wasn't getting no money. I love what I was doing, bro. It wasn't about the money. I love music. That was the first thing. First thing for me was, right, it was getting to know the people, getting to know who's who in the scene, right, and just learning about the music culture and about the scene and about getting dubs and doing. It was all about the love for me anyway. That's all I can say. I just loved it at the start.
You know, you hear that same thing with everybody, and everybody must be wondering. Lenny pops in, pops out, goes out, comes in. Okay, so passion seems to be a word I hear from everyone when there's no intrinsic thinking and money. You know, let's take coins and paper away from the situation. You know, what drives you to go and want to be the best at this? What would drive you to be that top guy there?
I don't know. It's just you know what it is. It just was a vibes and the energy, man. You know, anything you do want to try and be the best at it. You know, but it just was it's like a competition thing. It was just a vibes, a cultural vibes of just saying, yeah, I can play music better than this guy here, or I can play better tunes, looking for better tunes to play than the other DJ. It just was a good vibe, man. It just was love, really. You know, that's how I saw it.
In the time of the 80s, was London with this music, especially club owners and stuff, did you guys find it a bit racist with some of the owners letting you guys come in there to bring in that sound? It's true. I got to bring it up.
Yeah. It was hard for us as black youths back even in the 70s and 80s to get these clubs that you can play in the West End or in the city and all that. Most of the reggae dancers were mainly in either town halls, small clubs in the area like Brixton or maybe Dalston, where mostly black communities are, you know. So it was really hard to get into those places, you know. So what we usually did, we did blues dances in houses, party dances in houses, and just clubs in the area that hosted where a lot of black people lived. But going into the West End, that was a no-no back in the day, mate.
Is it because the element that would come out, would it be more of a militant type of atmosphere? Like, you know, some of the hip hop events of today, you know, with gun running and stuff, or is just that?
No, it wasn't that. Back those days, it wasn't really any of that gun running stuff. Back in the 80s, it wasn't that really, man. No. It was just more like, they just didn't want too much black people in the same place at the same time, man. You know what I mean? But, you know, at one stage, back in those days, it's either you were into soul or you're into reggae. You know, there weren't no house, there weren't no jungle, there weren't no garage, there was none of that back in the days. It was either soul or reggae. You either like soul music or you either like reggae. There's a lot of black guys who was into soul music, you know, and there was a lot of black guys who was into reggae. You know what I mean? But most of us all grew up on a sound system culture. Paul Trouble Anderson grew up on a sound system culture. You know, he had his sound system back in the days, Trouble Funk, you know. There was loads of us, Bobby and Steve, most of us grew up on sound system culture, you know, through our Caribbean parents, our families from the Caribbean and that. You know, most of them grew up on soca, soul, reggae. You know, there wasn't none of these other music then. There wasn't even house music then. So, you know, it was only two vibes.
So did you at that time, were you going back and forth to the West Indies? Like, and were you around, like, for example, Sunsplash and that stuff that was
No. Later on in the 90s, I started going to those things, you know what I mean? But in the 80s, I didn't really, you know. My parents are not Jamaican as well. My parents are from Guyana. Right? Okay. Yeah, Guyana. My parents are Guyanese. Yeah, but my parents grew up on soul, reggae, calypso as well. You know what I mean? My dad bought a lot of soul music. My dad's a big fan of soul music. You know, all the early, the OJs, a lot of the Philadelphia International stuff. My dad loved all that stuff. You know what I mean? And all the James Brown, Funkadelic, Parliament, and that. You know, so that's what my dad grew up on. My mum was more into Teddy Pendergrass. She loved all the love songs and all that, you know. But they both still were into soca and reggae as well, you know. So that was the styles of music that we grew up on.
It's funny you mentioned that, because in New York, there was this white DJ that was playing some of the most funkiest Jamaican things, and, you know, soca and all that.
Yeah.
And his name was Bobby Condors.
I've heard of him, man. Bobby Condors, yes.
And everybody thought Bobby was a black DJ. And when Bobby came out, he was as white as day, and he used to wear his hat to the side, but Bobby was just Jamaican. Yep, the legendary Bobby Condors.
Yeah, he's into the reggae big time.
There was that time in the scene that this music was finding its way from dance hall into dance. That's why I want to know how Gary Booker T finds his way from dance hall. Where's the transition?
Into dance. Yeah, well, you got to remember, music started to change. Everything started to change. The explosion of hip hop. When hip hop came in, that was a new flex for me. I didn't hear this kind of music before. It was like, me and my friends said, wow, this music's great. We need to start letting go reggae, man, and start going to these these hip hop raves and all that. But this was the early hip hop parties and all that I used to go to. That's how I met Paul Trouble Anderson, because Paul Trouble Anderson was playing hip hop and boogie and funk back in the day. You know, so this is in the 80s as well. This is how I got to know Paul Trouble Anderson. I started to go to Kiss FM, I think Kiss FM just started then. All the pirates started to come out and all that. That time oh yeah, let me explain something. I was on a station called Phase One Radio, yeah. Fabio, Groove Rider, DJ Crime, Commander B, a lot of us from South London was on that station. That time I started playing soul and funk and boogie. That's just before the hip hop explosion. And as soon as hip hop came out, I jumped into hip hop, started to play a bit of hip hop and R&B.
Let me just jump in.
Yeah.
Phase Radio. What was that? East London, West London?
No, South London. Phase One Radio was South London.
South London station pirate,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
How
the days
big,
of the pirate station.
How big of the wattage was it? How big? Or how small?
We was more or less majority of London, you know. We was in South, but you can hear us all over London. There was the main stations. You got LWR, you got Rock to Rock, you got Kiss, Phase One, you know. But we was playing on the station that we was playing a lot of rare groove, soul, funk, boogie. We had a bit of reggae on there as well. But that time, I kind of left the reggae scene, and I got into the rare groove.
But at that time, was Fabio and Groove Rider playing?
No, there weren't no jungle or no drum and bass. They were playing. Yeah, Fabio and Groove Rider were playing funk and disco, man. Fabio and Groove Rider, because Fabio used to play after me.
I do Fabio and Groove Rider on the show. I want to hear them say that.
Yeah.
Funk and disco?
Yeah, man. Fabio, yeah, because that's what was playing back in them days. Fabio, shout out to Fabio, man. Fabio knows his music, you know what I mean? Fabio's been playing funk from way back, you know, from back in the early 80s. He wasn't even really a reggae man. He was more of a funk, boogie, disco and all that, you know what I mean? Fabio's a great DJ, man. But yeah, we all was on the same station, Phase One.
I'm not questioning his skill. We know he's
I know that. Well, I'm not giving him his flowers.
I want people to know, because there's a lot of people that came in later. Probably Rider playing jungle. That's not it.
Nah. If you don't know that, man.
Jungle yet, guys.
Yeah. There wasn't even jungle. There wasn't no drum and bass jungle back then, man. You know what I mean? So so we all was on the same station. We all DJ'd on a station called Phase One. That's where I sharpened my skills playing soul. I left the reggae scene. I jumped into the soul thing, started to play the rare groove. I was on the rare groove scene with DJs like Mystery, Touch of Class. There was Mastermind. There was Trouble Funk. There was loads of Beat Freak. There was loads Rap Attack. There was loads of these hip hop and funk DJs playing a bit of boogie and all that back in the day, you know. So I got into that kind of vibes, you know. And where was that then? That was back like 80, 84, 85 or something like that. 80.
Okay, so here's I'm gonna play like your dad. Here we go.
Oh, we go.
I'm very, very impressed with my son. Who taught my son how to mix records? Booker, who is your guy that you either saw or picked up the art of blending? Not reggae, dance music, because you're leaving them. It's a different.
I'll tell you. Yeah. Paul was one of them. Well, I've got to say it's DJ McIntosh, man. CJ, he's another one who I kind of learned and saw who was mixing that. And this was back from the DMC days, you know, of hip hop and all that. You know what I mean? CJ McIntosh was a big influence on me playing, spinning and mixing and all that as well. Plus Paul Trouble Anderson.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes,
yeah.
CJ's real name is Chris McIntosh.
Yeah.
The DMC champion, I think it was 85 or 86 before he had
86, yeah.
Before he had Pump Up the Volume,
Yeah, Mars, yeah.
Okay, so you're coming from a generation of Techniques turntables and needles.
That's right. Yeah.
There was no such thing as a sync button.
No. Mixing, man. You have to mix on those decks, man. You know, Techniques. You know, if you couldn't mix, man, it don't make sense. Using the decks, those decks, you have to know what you're doing, you know. But I came from that scene of mixing on the decks and all that techniques and all that. Pitch control, not touching the platters and that, you know.
And the reggae sounds is more play the record, quick interlude into next one, right? It's not.
No, most back in them days, they didn't really have two decks. So what they used to do is pick the record up, the MC would come on, say 2 words, say 2 words, say 2 words. Then they'll play the music, you know? And then when you finish when you're going to put on the next tune, the MC comes on again, says what he has to say, big up all the people in, blah, blah, blah. And then you put on the next tune. And that was it, really. Later on down, DJs started to use 2 decks. Reggae DJs, R&B DJs, hip-hop DJs, you know?
And that's what I want everybody to understand, because I had just went to Carnival recently and I got to experience that again, where the selector had 1 turntable.
There you go.
And he's playing all his own sounds with an amazing system, and it would just, the record would stop, put another record on.
Sound system culture, man. That's how they used to play it back in the day, you know? You got the MC talking. When you take the music off, the MC's talking, saying his bit, then you put your tune on. Then the MC starts blowing up the music.
So for you, being in that culture, and then all of a sudden seeing Cut Master CJ transforming, it must have been like, yo, this is hot, right? Like you must...
Definitely. Hip-hop was a big thing then, you know? DMC, all the new music that was coming out, Rock the Bells, a lot of the early LL Cool J stuff, Taylor Rock, all that stuff that was coming out early, you know, we was buying it up, man, buying it up. You know, hip hop exploded. I'll be honest with you, I've jumped on more or less everything that came out, except drum and bass and jungle and all that, you know, but I jumped onto what I liked, you know, so it's kind of like advancing to different styles of music, you know, so but I love all the music.
You have your big gold chain, like Run DMC and all that?
Nah. I bought a big gold chain when I went to New York, but I was wearing big gold chains like that. Nah. That wasn't me.
So you basically...
I was mainly into the music vibes of it, more than posing.
Let's say, for a better word, you're a chameleon. As the things happen, you just went with the times and changed and just ever changing. There's nothing wrong with that. But when is it?
It was new styles of music, innit? It was just new styles of music that I like. I still love hip hop now. I collect hip hop, but I only collect most of the hip hop I've got is mainly the old school stuff. I like some of the new stuff, the mumbling. I'm not really into that mumbling rap, but I like some of the new stuff. But I still collect R&B and hip hop. I'm still into a lot of hip hop anyway, and R&B.
Coming from that Curtis Blow, Run DMC, all EPMD, all those type of acts. To mumbly hip hop, it's a difference. It doesn't sound hip hop.
No, it doesn't. The beats don't even sound the same as well. You see, because I'm into making beats, I'm into the stuff that Just Blaze does, Premiere. I like all that kind of old school vibes as well, you know. So I've always liked hip hop from the day it started till not up till now, but I still got a lot of classic hip hop tunes in my collection.
Okay, Booker. What was the first house record you bought on this quest? The one that you
the first house record I bought, right, was Jack the Groove.
Okay.
Was that Steve? I'm sure that was Steve Still Curly's Jack the Groove, was it? That's Chicago house track. Yeah. That was the first, because I was still playing soul then. So the first house tune I kind of bought from Chicago, I'm sure it was Jack the Groove.
Okay. When do you start actually physically mixing Chicago house music?
I need to think about this, you know. Starting with the acid and the acid house raves in '88. That's when I really got into it. Fine. Yeah, that's when I really got into it. I got into the Tyree Cooper stuff, a lot of the hip house stuff back in the early, coming from Chicago and all that, you know. I was into a lot of Chicago house in the early 80s, you know, the acid house stuff and all that. And a lot of the Ralphie Rosario stuff as well, like, used to hold me. All those stuff were big in the UK back in the 80s, you know, and Diva and all that early stuff. Then I did like some of the Ron Atkins stuff as well from Detroit. I was feeling some of that stuff because a lot of that stuff was playing in the acid days as well.
Okay, Booker, in the UK, who brings you or invites you to the first house gig that you actually see this going on and you go, ooh?
No one invited me, you know. I just wanted to jump on the scene because no one didn't invite me. I'm telling you, you know something. You know, listen, this is how it went, right? Just word of mouth. But the thing was as well, a lot of the DJs who I knew, who was around me at that time, jumped on the same thing. Fabio, Groove Rider, Jumping Jack Frost, they all were playing house music. They all jumped on the acid house thing. That was the first thing that came out in London, in the UK. So we all jumped on that. Even Paul Trouble Anderson, I knew Paul before he was playing house music. So it's like word of mouth. Everyone jumped on that scene, man. You know what I mean? When we're hearing about these acid raves and all that, we all started to go. You know, started to buy the music and then started to go to parties and that. I wasn't really getting no bookings on that scene at that time. You know, I think the only rave that I played at that time was an energy party, right? A Marchioness. It was a Marchioness dance. Some people died on the River Thames on a boat called the Marchioness. And these promoters called Energy did their first party. Well, it wasn't their first party, but they did a party for the Marchioness. And I got a chance to play on that party.
So what was that experience like for you to play your first event with dance?
Bro, it was scary, man. I'm not gonna lie, right? 10,000 people. And this was in I'm sure this was in Chelmsford. It was in the air dome, man, a big air dome, man, 10,000 people. And that was scary. And I didn't get a chance to play till about 7 o'clock in the morning. I was waiting my turn, man. And I'll tell you something, you know what I was playing after? Who I was playing before? I was playing before a guy named Frankie Bones. You know Frankie Bones.
Staten Island, New York, everybody.
Right. Frankie Bones. And Mel was his manager. And they were going mad at me, telling me, "I play shit, we want you off. Get off, get off, get off." And if it wasn't for my friends, them guys would have tried to get me off. I wasn't the best. It's my first time playing, you know? So, yeah, that's all I was playing on. That's all I played before.
Booker, describe, if you can remember,
the
experience of walking up there and what was going on in front of you. Describe it all. Come on.
Bro, walking up there with my record box onto that stage and looking at 10,000, 15,000 people going crazy. It was, to be honest with you, brother, it was scary. But, you know, this is what I wanted and this is what I wanted to do. So I just went in and played my first tune. And I'm still, to this day, I can't remember the first tune I played. But yeah, it was an experience and a half, man. You know, I've never played to that many people before, but it was the best. It was the best experience in my life.
What record was it that everybody went?
Well, I'm trying to remember, man. I can't remember, man. It was a black, because I'm telling you, I didn't play the best set. I didn't play the best set because it was my first time playing, man. So I know I must have played tracks like "Come and Get My Lovin' Tonight." You Used to Hold Me. I can't remember, man. It was a blank that night, man. It was too much people.
They Used to Hold Me. When that bass line dropped, dun, dun, dun,
bum, bum, bum. They went mad over that tune, man. That was one of the biggest tunes over here, yeah.
And that record was like, that was
Ralphie Rosario, man. It was one of the biggest. That was a big tune in the UK.
So
in
you
88.
were talking about Mel from Champion, that was Frankie's manager?
I know Mel from Champion. I didn't know he was Frankie's man.
Was that who you saw? Frankie Bones? Mel?
No, not Mel from Champion. It was another guy. This guy with this thick mustaches. I'm sure his name's Mel. He was managing. He was managing. He was telling me to get off the stage, man, get off the set and all that. You know what I mean? And I was pissed off about that still because it was my first gig. You know, I shouldn't even be saying this still, man. But I'm going to tell you how it is, man. I'm starting off new to this. So when I played, I'm like,
Here's what I'm going to ask one more time.
Yeah.
It's your first gig. It's okay to be pissed off. Tell us why. Why are you angry? Because this is going on in your mind. You're not saying it because you're nervous there. You're probably
No, I was nervous. I think a few of the tunes that I played, it didn't rock the crowd. I tried to play the tunes that everybody knew, and it's my first experience playing house music to that many people, you know what I mean? So there was a couple of tunes that kind of made the crowd they weren't really feeling it, or maybe he wasn't feeling it really. You know, but my set was all right. I thought my set was all right. You know, it wasn't that bad.
In reggae culture now, going back in time, did you have any experiences of that level playing for that amount of people in the reggae side?
Yeah, first time you do when you start playing. You know what I mean? If you don't play good, they're going to tell you to get off the set. You know what I mean? Get the next selector in. You know, we always have that thing. I've never had that problem since. One time in the reggae, one time on the house scene, and that was it. Never again, mate. Never again. I'm fixed up, look sharp.
Right. Make sure you come correct.
Come correct. That's right, my bro. Definitely.
So your initiation to house music begins. Now
Yeah.
you can take
Yeah.
us on the journey, because now that once that bug hits you, I'm assuming a lot of things start to go through your mind. You want to keep playing out. You want to keep
Yeah.
this thing
Yes.
going. So take us
Right.
on the journey.
All right. Here we go then. Right. So I was still buying music. I was buying still a bit of R&B, but I was buying a lot of house music. So I used to go to Black Market Records where I had a good friend. Big shout out to Mickey D. Yeah, because he used to sell a lot of music, but I was going to America to see my mum. I think it was about, no, let me explain this first. The way I got into this, right, I made a tune. I started producing tunes in about 1991 with a guy named Trevor Rose. So the first track that I did was with Azuli Records. That's Dave Petroni Black Market. Dave Petroni used to work at Black Market Records. My mate Mickey D used to work at Black Market Records. So the first single I'd done was called Didn't I, under the name Underground Mass, which done good in its first release and all that. First tune that kind of got signed in America by Big Beat Atlantic. Tony Humphries was playing it on his WBLS show in New York, you know, and to me that was a big thing. So my mum was living in America. So what I was going to do, I was going to fly over and go and see her and that. So I hooked up with Mickey D, which Mickey D knew Jerome Sydenham from Atlantic, and you know Timmy Regisford. So he hooked me up with Jerome. So when I flew to New York, I linked up. First person I linked up was Jerome Sydenham. I think this was about '93. I met up with Jerome. I went to Atlantic Records, Rockefeller Plaza, New York, and I met up with Jerome. I should have gave you a picture of that as well. But I met up with Jerome, and what did we do? We hanged out for a couple of hours, and then he said what he's going to do is going to bring me to the shelter. He's going to link me up and bring me to the shelter at night. So instead of we going up there like party time, we went up there a bit early. So we went up there early. Got to meet Merlin Bob. Went for Atlantic as well. Got to meet Timmy Regisford. You know, I was hanging out for a bit before the club opened. Went out to have something to eat, and then I went to the Holy Grail of dance music, mate. I didn't go. I've never been to the Paradise Garage, but I went to the shelter, and that's the Holy Grail of house music. I'm telling you, listening to Merlin Bob on a Friday night, smashing some exclusive tunes, man.
So now that we got that that piece right,
Yeah.
and thank you. Some people are correcting. Tony Humphries was on Kiss. That's right. 98.7.
That's it. Kiss. Sorry, Kiss. Sorry. Yeah.
It's all right. Thank you, Shane, for reminding Mr. Booker. The production side of you, the bug begins because you're getting the DJing, and your first official London gig is with Bobby and Steve, correct?
Bobby and Steve, yes. Big shouts to Bobby and Steve. They gave me my first shot at the Raw Club. I think this was '92 or something like that. You know, I played for them there and the Coliseum. They gave me my first PA as well with Stephen Granville. Did the first show at Coliseum.
I want to make sure we get all these points in because this is your story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who turned you on to becoming Booker T, the remixing producer? Who's that guy? Who showed you the ropes in the beginning?
All right, here we go. This is another story. One time I was in Catch a Groove. I was in Catch a Groove Records. I used to go there all the time, buy my music and all that. Hang out with Ricky, Jeremy Newell, who else used to hang out with in there? Well, I hang out with a few people
You
in
mean
there
Abby
anyway.
Shaw? Abby?
Yeah, Abby. Sorry, yeah, Abby, man. Flowers to Abby as well. You know, he was another one who kind of really looked after me and gave me a lot of good tunes to play out back in the day. Yeah, so it was Abby, Ricky, and Jeremy Newell, you know. And one day, Ricky used to live upstairs from Catch a Groove. He used to have a flat upstairs. So I went up there with him one day, him and Danny Buddha Morales. And when I went in the room, they were doing something. So I popped my head over and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "This is an MPC 60." So I said, what's it do? He says, it makes some serious beats. So he started to play a beat on there, man, him and Danny. And I thought, what the fuck? So, sorry for swearing. I said, what's this? This beat is bad. Shout out to Ricky Morrison, because he was the one who made me buy my first MPC 60 drum machine. Yeah.
And I know how important that Catch a Groove apartment was above, because that was
man.
Tony Humphrey was doing his master mixes. People hanging out in Ricky's apartment.
Yeah. Danny was up there. Benji was up there. Benji passed up there. So I went up there, and Ricky was playing all these beats, man, that he was doing, man. And I thought, this is heavy. I need to get one of these drum machines. I'm going to go out and get one. I'm going to get some money and get one. You know, and that time Ricky had the MPC 60 Mark II. I only could afford the MPC 60 Mark I, so I just got the Mark I, you know, the older machine. But I started using it. I didn't really know how to use it at first, but I just read the manual a bit. And then I had a friend who knew about it. I had an engineer friend who.
Wait a second. Yeah. Wait a second. There was no YouTube, no internet.
There was no YouTube, nothing like that, bro. There was no internet, no YouTube, or nothing. Straight up manual, or watch someone use the drum machine and try and pick up some tips there and there. You know, because I'm telling you something, man, it was a program and a half to use. It was a drum machine and a half to use. So I had a friend who was an engineer. He showed me a few pointers because he was using the MPC before and all that, and he's into hip hop. You know, so you know MPCs are part of the hip hop scene and all that. So he showed me a guy named Mark Franks. Big shouts to Mark Franks as well. Top engineer guy. He showed me how to use the MPC 60. You know, so
Booker, why did everybody have an MPC? What was the reason for the MPC?
The MPC had that sound, had that swing. Only two drum machines had that sound, that swing. SP 1200 and the MPC 60. Yeah, it had that sound, that fat sound that used to come out. You had 8 outputs at the back, 2 stereo outs and 8 outputs at the back, separate outs. And when you hear that sound, it was heavy. And the swing was amazing, man. The swing was just swing.
So you mean, yeah, right. So you mean that?
Yeah. That swing, man. That swing was tight. You know, you couldn't get a better drum machine to get that swing than the MPC, man. You know, yeah. And from there, after I started making tunes, I started doing my own thing, started to make tunes for myself. And what I did was I started to go to different labels. Azuli was first. I did my first single with the Azulis. Then I started to pump my tracks around to Slip and Slide, Junior Boys Own. I was going to all these different labels, Future Tracks, you know, trying to punt out my tunes.
Here's something for you. Was it as easy and accessible to get to those people at those record labels at that time, or you had to work hard to find your way into those doors?
You had to work hard, man. I was a hustler, man. Me, anything I do, I just go into it full, you know what I mean? So it was hard, man, but you know, you just get to know people. You know, the second remix I did was for Vinyl Solution. That's how I got to meet Phil Usher and Mark Ravenhill, because they used to work in the record shop downstairs. They had a record label upstairs and a record shop downstairs, and that was in Portobello Road. And that's how I met Phil Usher, and that was like early 90s. And Mark Ravenhill as well. They used to work there. So I was going to any record label that I knew that was putting out good music. I would go to the record label. I wouldn't even send my demos. I'll go there, knock the door, try and get to know them, you know, introduce myself. My name's Gary Booker. Got new music. That's what I did.
And they would say to you, and?
They would say, and? I'll say, listen.
Remember how shady they were too, right? Like,
yeah, they were shady, man. But I had to give them the gab, man. I got in with believe me, I got in with everybody, even with the majors after a little while. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is, you know, if you want to get there, if you want to get into this thing here and you take it serious, you'll find any means necessary to get in there, man. And I did that, you know. I went to every label, and you know, I had to prove myself still.
Let me in,
yeah. I went to every label, man, and you know, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, 2 people turned me down and that, you know, but in the end, they came back later on. You know, I've got to give thanks to Dave Pachoni to giving me my first shot, my first release on his label. You know, big shout out to Dave Pachoni because he was the one who started it first for me. You know.
Yes, he was ahead of his time at the time. I
Yeah.
have to give him a lot of credit because he was paying attention to new records that were flying around. He would be grabbing stuff way before anybody else got their hands on it.
But that Dave had the link as well. He was in New York a lot as well. Remember, he was in America before he came to Black Market and that. So
Right.
he was in between both. You know what I mean? So he had those links.
Let me
You
show
know,
you.
he's like, huh?
Let me show you studio. See that's a studio from back in the day. That's not the first studio.
No, that's not.
But what he's talking about. See how he has all the hardware gear.
Yeah.
The gear's in full effect right there.
And that's a lot of work using all that hardware gear for all of it to work together, all that MIDI to work together with the computer. It's a lot of work, man. Sometimes things are not in time, you know, but and the tapes as well, you've got to try and make it work. You know, it was really hard. And that's Eddie Perez's studio, as a matter of fact, home studio.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's a Korg M1.
If you look on the side there, you can see the piece of the SP1200 on the left-hand side.
There's the SP1200, got the Akai S1000s. He's got
yeah. It wasn't even yeah. So from this story anyway, so I started doing a lot of stuff with different labels. Like after I did the track for Vinyl Solution, I did a remix called Living for the Moment. And Victor Simonelli, he was another one. Got to send big shout outs to Victor Simonelli, who I really rate musically, you know. He did the remix as well. So that made me happy that it's American on one side and a British on the other side, you know, especially Victor Simonelli. That was a big thing for me. Big shout outs to Victor Simonelli. You know, big shout outs to Vinyl Solution as well for giving me the hook up on that, you know. But yeah, so from there, I started doing stuff for Slip and Slide, Junior Boyzone, Future Tracks, you know, and then the remixes. Then I started working with a guy named Ferdy Hunger. He used to run a label called Go Beat Records. It was part of Polygram. He's another guy I've got to give shouts out to as well. I think he's the head of Sony now. But he gave me my first shot back in there. First big remix I did was Gabriel, Forget About the World. And I had I'm not sure if I was the first to use him, but I had McKaylee, who plays for Spen. He's played for Joey Negro. He's played for Dave Lee. I'm not sure if I worked with him first, but we worked together on that track. You know, he played keys on that track. I did an R&B mix and a house mix. Forget About the World, Go Beat Records. That was part of Polygram.
That's what I'm saying. See, everybody has a beginning.
Yeah.
Even
McKaylee.
Great keyboard player. My God.
But he's exceptional.
A beast in the keys.
Amazing keyboardist, man. Italian keyboardist. Oh, look at you. You know? Yeah, he's great. He's a great keyboardist.
I make it right. Don't worry.
Yeah, and after that.
But hang on.
Let me get on. Yeah, go on.
Keep going. I was going to say, and not too far down the road, he's not the first, but he's the second British producer. Strictly Rhythm. So
Strictly Rhythm, yeah. I did my first track for Strictly, and shout outs to Phil Cheeseman, because Phil Cheeseman was the one who signed it when I was going to the Strictly office over West London. You know, he signed my track, a track called Tearing Me Apart, Inner Souls. You know, what I did with my friend called Bradley Carroll. We both did that track together. And that was when I took my second trip back to New York to go to the Strictly Rhythm office. You know, and oh yeah.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So so when I did that track, Phil Cheeseman was in America, so I told him I'm coming over. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna go over and come and hang out for a bit. So I went to New York, went to the Strictly Rhythm office, met Gladys Pizzaro, Roger Sanchez. I already knew Roger anyway, so Roger Sanchez was in there. Was shocked to see me in there, having a little chat with him, and that, you know. And Gladys said to me, "Listen, you're part of the team now. I want you to come somewhere with me tonight." And said it's the Underground Network party. You know, so I said, wow, yeah, I'm definitely coming. So I was staying at my auntie's in Queens. So they came over to Queens and picked me up, and then we left. We all left and went straight to Underground Network, where that was another party of bare top DJs, producers. Everybody was there, man. I couldn't believe it. I saw everybody. Louis was there. Louis was playing. Kenny, Todd, Armand Van Elden, Barbara Tucker. You know, I met Don Welsh there as well. They were running it. Don Welsh and Barbara Tucker was running it. That's when I first got to meet Barbara Tucker as well. At Underground Network, Sound Factory Bar. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first time I met them, and you know that was a great party at that night. I heard that night was playing. I think it was just Louis. I think it was Louis and Ted Patterson playing down there that night, or it could have been Louis and Tony Humphries playing down there that night. But that night was a great night, man. That night was on fire.
So
You know,
explain
big night.
that your New York, the whole Sound Factory thing that you were mentioning to me, and
Yeah.
how that really came about for you. What changed you? Because each time you come to New York, it's like when I went to London, things change in your mind.
Yeah. Well, it did change me. It changed me how to make music as well. Because what I was hearing over there, man, I just wanted to make what I was hearing in New York house. That just kind of just made me want to make some deep underground vibe. I think the New York house vibes was a bit more up tempo, more bumpier. It was different, man, to the Chicago house and that. You know what I mean? When I went to New York, especially when I went to New York, all I wanted to do is kind of get that vibes, like the Muscle at Work vibes, the Todd Terry vibes. They were running things back then. You know what I mean? So that was the vibes for me at that time. You know what I mean? You know that New York vibe, Lenny Fontana. You've got the 95 Norths and all that. That kind of bumpy New York vibe. That was for me. I was really into that vibe then. That was the energy for me at that time. So that made me change my style of making drum patterns and making my music. I was trying to I'll be honest with you, I was trying to follow the Americans, to be honest. You know?
Why?
Eh?
Why?
Because they were making the best music. That was the vibes then. We was trying to make what you was making, really. You know what I mean? But when you see what he was using to make, what he was using, what kind of drum machines he was using and all that, then we started to kind of get it. You know what I mean? And that's when we started to make our sound a bit more similar to yours. But New York house was the best house anyway. Me personally, that's what I thought. No disrespect to Chicago house, Detroit,
No, it's different.
anything.
It's a different.
You know what I mean? It was different vibes. But New York house had more of a bumpier feel, more of an up tempo, high energy feel. You know what I mean? And more of a vocally cut up kind of vibes. You know. So that's why I got into more of that New York house vibes.
Okay, I can see why, and I can hear it because I heard the change happen in your sound. It went from from a real London sound,
UK sound to New York sound straight away, man.
it was like
A lot of people thought I was American. When I did my first interview on Kiss, a lot of people thought I was American, which I was quite shocked about that. You know, the first the first interview I did was with Bobby and Steve on Kiss on their Friday night show. The first interview I ever did was with Bobby and Steve. Then I did another interview with Steve Jackson on his show on Kiss. That's when a lot of the fans and a lot of people, a lot of DJs out there thought I was American. You know,
and that's a
which I just told
compliment.
them.
Listen, it's a compliment. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You wanted to be, you wanted to have that American sound. You wanted to feel American.
Yeah.
Well, you nailed it.
I didn't want to feel American, but I want that American sound. American sound that's what was going on, you know what I mean? So, you know, for me to get into this music scene, that's what I try to do to make people recognize who I am. So I wanted to use that kind of American sound, the same kind of drum patterns, that bumpy sound, keyboard stabs and all that as well. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? I don't feel no way about it. Music's music, man. It's how you make it now. It's how you make it feel it in your way, you know? I just did it my way. I took sounds here and there, but I did it Booker T style.
Sure, and that's what makes you your signature sound. So what's the first record that you would say takes you from that underground level to now the household name Booker T?
Well, on my track or someone else's track?
Well, it could be both. You could say this record did it for this, and that opened.
I'll tell you what, right? The early Masters at Work tracks did it for me. Telling you the truth, the early Todd Terry stuff did it for me. Watcher's Point of View, the remix of that. Masters at Work's early. We call it Ride the Rhythm. Ride the Rhythm. That tune was when I first heard that, man. That tune was just deep, deep underground house. Beep-ba, beep-a-dee, ba-ba, ba-ba-da, ba-ba. You know, Ride the Rhythm. That was one of the biggest tunes for me as well. And there's loads of Masters of Work track. I was a big fan of Masters of Work, to be honest. I bought anything that Masters of Work brought out. I bought Kenny Don't Leave Laker. They're on my radar 24 hours, man. Them and Todd Terry. And MK as well. MK was a bad boy back in the days as well with his production as well. I loved his production, you know. 95 North. Listen, most of American house music I was into, man. As long as it was bumpy and underground, that's the vibes I was feeling. You know, so I did my own thing and tried copy, paste, do what I did to bring that Booker T vibes out there, you know.
And that's important because, you know, it's like painting. You get someone to muse, you see something and you want to pull that image or some of it into what you're doing.
Yeah.
It, and then caress it and make it Booker T's.
That's right.
So what's the big record that all of a sudden Booker and everybody's calling you? Like, what's that record now that changes your life?
When I did the remix on All Saints, I did the remix for London Records. That time I started to, things started to get a bit different. I started to do a lot more major stuff. I started to do a lot of stuff for Ireland. I was working for Ireland. I was working for Sony. I was working for Arista. I was working for Atlantic, East West, Sony, you know what I mean, Universal. But the biggest tune that I did what sold like over 10 million was the remix of Never Ever Soul, Never Ever. All Saints, Never Ever. That sold about 10 million, man. I got 2 double platinum just for that, you know what I mean? And that was via Pete Tong. And then I did Quincy Jones, Stomp, Musa T did remixes. I did remixes for Warner Brothers. And I started to do God's Property. Then I did Soul For Real for Universal. Many more I did. Hinder Hits for Ireland. I was just remixing everybody. And then I had Craig Kelman come over from Big Beat Atlantic, come to check me to ask me to do a remix for Jody Watley. A track called Off the Hook, which Masters at Work did as well. You know, they did remixes, I did remixes, and that was A&R through Johnny D in New York. I was getting a lot of remixes from New York as well, because I was doing stuff for Arista America as well. I did Monica, one of Monica's tracks in America as well. So then I went back to New York again and linked up with my old boy, Eddie Perez, Smack, one of my favorite keyboard producers, you know.
And that's a whole other story, the Smack Boys.
Yeah,
Eddie Perez and Mike Cameron and that whole Jersey sound. So I'm presuming that the Jersey sound is starting to get all over you too.
That's right, man. That's right. Smack, Mental Intralism, Dave, those were the killer tunes back in the day, man. Look, you're laughing yourself because you know. You know. Yeah, you came to my you came to my studio back in the day as well, didn't
you? Studio in the early 90s, everybody.
In the early 90s, you came. Jeremy Newell came to my studio as well. He brought Ron Trent to my studio. This is what I'm saying. A lot of people came I had a little home studio in Brixton. So I had a few of the producers back in the day come over and all that. Camacho came to my studio. Me and Camacho used to hang out in Jersey as well. You know, Disciple came to my studio. I think you showed that picture already. Have you showed it yet?
Let's get that picture.
That was my home studio there. There's the MPC 60. The Mackie desk, that's me and Dino Disciple. I was at my home studio in Brixton at me and my girlfriend's house.
Mm-hmm.
In the heart of Brixton, man. So Camacho came there, Ron Trent came there, you know, we did a track there. I don't even know where that track is. And Ron Trent came there with Jeremy Newell as well. Big shouts to Jeremy Newell and Ron Trent.
Yeah,
they both came to my house. And big shouts to rest in heavenly peace, DJ Camacho. You know, another good friend of mine, really, really good guy. You know, when I came to New York as well, he invited me to his house. stayed at his house with his family and all that, and they really looked after me, treated me really good.
Oh yeah,
So
good people.
yeah,
Macho was good. Cookie.
yeah, yeah, Cookie man, yeah man, beautiful lady, yeah, beautiful kids and all that, and they're really nice people. Really made me feel comfortable, made me feel at home. We did a few beats in his basement downstairs in his basement in New Jersey. So yeah, hung out with him for a bit. Then I went to Eddie, did some. I did some. I was managed by Big Life as well. So what I did, I had a project, and I wanted to do it with Smack and all that. So
Let's get
yeah,
that. Let's get that out
yeah,
there.
yeah. Right. So well, let me clean my mouth. Let me get some water. Let me get some water quick. Yeah. What's it?
Everybody who enjoying Booker's down memory lane, incredible. Let him have some water. I'll bring him back up. This is what it takes, people, to make it. Listen to Booker carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just started to get managed. Well, I was managed by Tim Blacksmith. Big shout outs to Tim Blacksmith. Love you, bruv. You know what I mean? Because he did a lot for me as well. You know what I mean? Helped me out, managing me and getting me all those big remixes, the remixes from the All Saints, the busiest parties, the brand new heavies and all that. Big shouts to Tim Blacksmith, Stellar Songs and Danny D. Yeah, but then after I was managed by Jazz Summers, Big Life Records. So they wanted me to do a project and all that. So they said who I wanted to work with. So I said, I want to work with Eddie Perez, Smack and all that. So, said, you got the budget, give me the budget and I'll fly over to New York and we'll go to Eddie Perez's studio and do this track. So gave me some money. So took a flight, flew over to Jersey, linked up with Eddie. Who did I butt when I got there? Tim Deluxe and Omar, RIP. Big shouts to Tim Deluxe, big shouts to RIP, Omar as well. So we was hanging out at Eddie Perez's studio and all that, and we started to do some tracks together. I think all three of us. And then after that,
I got a question for you.
yeah.
So when you get to go into Eddie Perez's place, and Smack Productions is now, they're mixing a lot of stuff back then.
Yeah.
You got to see the inside of what was going on. What did you learn when you got there? Was it what you thought the Smack thing was, or was it different?
Well, I tell you the truth, it was different, man. It's like a machine, man. They were knocking out tunes like mad. They were knocking tunes out like 2-3 tunes a day. Eddie was on his game, man. Those guys were on their game. But I gotta give it to Eddie. Eddie Perez was the main man who was doing a lot of the music, keyboard stuff and all that. And I like Eddie's style of keyboards, man. He had this style that, he's got his own style of keyboards. I loved it. So, I ended up doing 3 tracks with him in at his studio and that. We finished them off. I think I've still got them out. I didn't even put them out in the end. You know what I mean? We didn't even put them out in the end, man. But I'm still sitting on them, man. I might even put them out. But I got Eddie Perez to play on a few tracks with me when he came to London. He played on the Soul to Soul Like Here remix I did for Ireland. And he played on I Can See the Light, the track that I signed to Slip and Slide Records back in the 90s.
Are you sorry? Are you sorry for not having your own record label, releasing your own productions, or
yeah, man? Yeah, definitely,
explain that.
definitely. Bro, I'll be honest with you. I got caught up in the remix game and the production game. I didn't really think about starting a label, which I should have done. If I started a label back in the 90s, it would have been different now. Things would have been so much different, man. I would have had a massive catalogue of music. But what I concentrated on more was my DJing and studio. I was in the studio all the time. I'm self-taught as well. I didn't go to any studio school to learn how to use a sampler, use a drum machine. I just read manuals and watched what other people did and just blagged my way. I blagged it most of the way. You know what I mean? But I still got to learn how to use these equipment. 2000 sampler, 3000 MPC drum machine, all the Juno stuff and all that. I'm not the greatest keyboardist. I can play a couple of chords and all that, but I can program. I'm good at programming and making beats and all that. But I'm self-taught. I didn't go to no school to learn anything. I just taught myself.
Can you tell some of the people out there with some of the record deals, because you didn't do too many deals, you did a lot of remixing,
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
what those deals were like in back in the day with the contract stuff? What did you do?
Listen, the deals were big. Listen, I got a lot of. What happened is I did a lot of production um, for labels as well, but I did a lot for independent. And what I should have done, I should have cut down on the remixing. I jumped on the remix tip, and I was doing a lot of remixes and getting a lot of money and buying a lot of equipment. So I didn't see, I didn't really see till later on about releasing tracks from majors. I just saw just getting remix money and getting the remixes, getting my name out there, people getting to know who I am. If I'm working on the majors and all that, my name will go out there, and it did. But the thing was as well, another thing as well, you know, most of your tunes and all that, they usually blow up if you sign them to independent. Most major labels wouldn't just invest in a tune like that unless they knew it was going to blow up. That's the main thing. Majors that at that time they wouldn't invest in something unless they knew it was going to blow up. You
Right,
know,
they
and
had.
when it
That's right. They had to be in it, and it had to be really, really showing that this
well,
thing.
that's right, that's right. That's why Ricky got that big deal with Sosa Nugget. You know, Ricky was on it, mate. Ricky was on it. I was there the day he brought the Sosa Nugget to Garage City at Coliseum. That night he brought that tune. He said, "I've got this tune, book. I've got this tune, Bobby. I've got this tune. It's a killer tune. We just finished this tune." And from the first time I heard it, I knew it was going to get signed.
But
You know, but
even
I
with
did sign a deal still.
even
I
with
did.
Ricky's story, even with Ricky's story, Ricky said
Yeah,
the first deals were.
they were down there, man. But you know, listen, I was just glad to get on labels. I went to labels in New York, right? I went to Cutting Records. I checked Aldo and them guys, right? I went to some some ghetto, dangerous area where Cuttings is, where there's some cutthroat Spanish, Puerto Rican boys are and all that. Aldo was shocked when I came there. Aldo said, "Man, how you managed to come down here, man?" But I've got cousins. I've got loads of cousins in New York. I've got cousins in Queens. I've got cousins in Brooklyn and all that. And they go all over the place, man. So I went down there, tried to shop a couple of my music to Cutting Records. And really and truly, I wanted to get most of my tunes on American labels first. So if they see it back in London, they say, "Shit, Booker's got a tune out on Cutting, man, or Strictly and all that." We need to look at this guy a bit more carefully. You know what I mean? And that's what Ricky did as well. Most of us did that. We shopped a lot of our tunes here, and we shot the tunes in America as well.
Did you have better success with the American labels or the UK in the end?
Both, man. They both helped. They both helped. If you had a tune on Strictly, people. If you had a tune, if a British guy had a tune out on Strictly, back in them days when you had Deep Inside and all these big tunes by Eric Morello, Louis Vega, Kenny Dope, George Merlin, and all that, people's looking at you in London and saying, "Yeah," you know, because Strictly was like a major independent major label for house music at that time. What defected are now, that used to be Strictly back in the day. You know, everybody wanted to put their tunes out
So
on
how
Strictly.
important was Gladys Pizarro and getting her attention on your record? Who, those that don't know, Gladys Pizarro was the A&R
She was
woman. Strictly.
yeah, she was important, very important. She was the one who signed most of those tracks. You know, even though my track wasn't signed by her, it was signed by Phil, but it still had to go through her. She had to say, yeah, if she likes this tune, they'll sign it. And she liked it. You know, and that's for me personally, when I knew she liked it and I knew they were signing it, I'm saying I'm going to New York, man. I'm going straight to New York. I'm going straight to Strictly Rhythm office. I'm going to hang out with everybody, you know, get everybody to get to know me. This is what I do. That's what I do. I've always done it. Even in London, you know, I moved with all the record labels. I've been to every record label. I know Dunmore from Dunmore was to work at Cool Tempo. You know, I know Dunmore from Dunmore used to work at Cool Tempo, Trevor Nelson. I did remixes for Cool Tempo as well. I did a track called Stay, Misha Paris. Well, I did that for Cool Tempo. And here's another story after as well. I did a track called Love Shine and I gave it to DJ Disciple. So DJ Disciple was playing this tune in New York, right? And who did he give this tune to? This Love Shine. He gave it to Roger Sanchez. So Roger Sanchez is banging out this tune, banging out this tune, banging out this tune, banging out this tune, banging out this tune. In New York, who hears this tune? Simon Dunmore, AMPM Records. So I got a call from Disciple saying, "Yeah, man, Books, you're gonna get a call, you know, from you. Dunmore's gonna Simon Dunmore's gonna phone you. I think he loves your track. He loves your track." I said, "How did you hear that?" Then he said, "Oh, I gave it to Roger Sanchez. Roger Sanchez was playing it." I said, "Okay, cool." In about 20 minutes, I got a call from Dunmore saying, "I like your track. Was it you that done it?" I said, "Yeah. Can we have a meeting? Come to the office." And I went up to the office. Went up to AMPM.
And what did Simon Dunmore say when he got there?
He said, "Hello, Mr. Booker T. I like your track." No, he didn't. He said, he asked me about the track, who produced the track. I told him that it was me. You know, Dunmore knew who I was anyway. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, he was probably.
he said he liked the track.
Bro, he was. If trust me, if everybody's playing your tracks, Dunmore's a DJ first.
Dunmore, yeah, he knows. Yeah, he's on it.
So,
Yeah.
was the deal worth doing with AMPM?
It was an all right deal. I'm not. Listen,
come on, let's be real.
Listen, it was an all right deal. I'm not gonna knock Dunmore. You know what I mean? He's a good guy. Give big shouts out to Simon as well because he's done a lot for the scene. You know, and I've known that man for years. But it was a decent deal, man. It was a free single deal. You know, option of an album. If the first single done good, you know what I mean, we get more money on top. We got a good amount of money still, and it had to split between 3 people because it was me, another guy called Bradley Carroll, and the artist who was singing on the tracks as well. So the deal was reasonable, man. It was all right. There's a free single option the album, you know. So if any of the singles started to blow up, then we can negotiate for this album, you know. But we did the first single. They got Roger Sanchez. I did the mixes. I did the mixes at Swan Yard Studios. Then we went to another studio to do some more mixes. Roger Sanchez came in to do the mixes as well. Was in the studio with Roger Sanchez at the time, and he was doing the mix as well. And we got those mixes done, and then Dunmore said he was going to get Joe T. Vanelli from Italy to do mixes as well. You know, and that was it. You know, release a single. I'm not going to tell you where it went though.
And then you got a big negative on the contract, which is like how much was spent to make that record happen. You know, people don't realize that amount of money that's now this record's into.
Yeah, you do.
40,000 by the time they're done with all the remixes.
Well, that's it, you know. But you know, the thing was though, we got a good amount of money. You know what I mean? So really and truly, no one lost. Simon didn't lose. He might have lost a bit. You know what I mean? But he made back his money, man. He knew what he was doing to make back his money. I didn't lose. You know. I just think
of course. You know, that's part of it. That's part of the course.
One thing about Dunmore, man, he's not going to overspend something. You know what I mean? He's always going to be like a bit more careful on his spending. That's why he's got where he is to now.
He's actually always said he has the most severest part of OCD. He must control everything.
He does. He's in control of everything because we was late for a photo shoot and he got pissed off. He was mad because he was in the studio. Because this is what I'm saying as well. I'm just on the remix. We was in the studio like 5 days a week, in the night, all night and all that. Sometimes I'm studio from like midday till the next day. You know, just trying to just get my name out there. You know, so we was meant to be at a photo shoot. We got to the photo shoot about 45 minutes late, just coming from the studio session. Me and my mate Simon was going mad. He was getting pissed off, kicking the thing and going, "What's wrong with you? Don't you see I'm making money?" Sorry about the swearing.
That's all right. No, that's okay.
Yeah. No, but he wasn't like, but he's spending his money. You know what I mean? We was late for a photo shoot. We was meant to be at a photo shoot on time. We got there 45 minutes late. He was doing remixes for someone else. You know, but yeah, man, that's how it goes still, man. You know what I mean? But we got dropped on the first single. You know, the first single didn't go top 40. You know, but I was cool about it. It didn't bother me, you know what I mean? It really didn't bother me. It just was an experience, you know? For me, it was an experience. Work with him, you know, he put his heart and soul into the project as well. I can't say he didn't, you know what I mean? High Studios, we went back in to redo stuff, you know what I mean, to make it sound better, You know, he proper invested enough. So I can't knock him. It didn't go top 40. He went about number 60 in the pop charts or something like that. In the main charts. It didn't go top 40, man.
And
So
with
he
major
got dropped.
companies, sorry everybody, if you don't have a top 40 record, it's
You're
gonna
in it, yeah.
come back with the follow
Yeah,
up.
yeah. That's right, man. There's no follow up, mate. There's no follow up. There's no follow up, you know. But you know something. There was no hard feelings, man. I still kept on doing what I was doing, and later on, Dunmore called me again. Come in. Oh, I needed to do a remix for me. Who do you want me to remix? Sounds of Blackness. Pressure.
Nice.
There we go. Start again. You know. So Dunmore gave me all the parts. I went in and damaged that tune, man. The Pressure for AMPM. I think I did mixes. They put the original Frankie Knuckles mixes on there. Jazz and Groove was on mixes as well. It's a few of us on the mixes, you know what I mean? But that was a great track to remix.
You know,
Yeah.
how long did this remixing game for you stay at the height it did till it started to?
In the 90s, man, it was all from 90, say about 93, all the way up to about 99, 2000. That's when it was the hype for me. 93. From 93 to 2000. I did loads of major work and all that. But the game changed, you know what I mean? MP3s, WAVs and all that came in, getting less money. You know, majors don't want to work with too much of the house DJs no more, especially the soulful house DJs. You know, the game music was changing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I'm going to ask you when the music changed and everything starts, because also the monies that was being passed around was not there anymore.
No, it wasn't there. None of that was there. All that big money thing has gone out the window now, mate.
Right. So what did you start to do at that stage to stay alive?
DJ, man. DJ. I was still doing mixes, but I was doing a lot of stuff for independence. I was still DJing a lot anyway. I was playing in LA, I played in San Francisco, I was playing in Italy a lot. You know, that's how I got to meet Terry Hunter. I got to meet Terry Hunter and the whole of the Music Plant crew in Italy when I was playing for Maurizio. I played for Maurizio Clemente. And he had Danny Tenaglia there. I got to meet Danny Tenaglia. That's when I first met Byron Stingley in Italy as well. I met Byron. It was Byron, 10 City crew, and it was a Music Plant crew. That was Terry Hunter, Georgie Porgy, Maurice Joshua, and who else was with them? Some other guys with them, and I can't remember who they were, but they were the main guys who I met, and we all hung out together. That was the first time I met them when I went to Italy, you know, because we was all there for a music conference, and I went over there with Dave Piccioni to play.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think Maurizio Clemente used to put them on, right? The
Yeah, that's right, Maurizio. Yeah, that's right, Maurizio Clemente. Yeah, absolutely.
So you saw that what you began with is what basically kept you alive, the DJ.
Yeah. The DJing kept me functioning. I'm still making music. I'm always going to be making music, no matter what. But things just went downhill for a little while, you know. It didn't go downhill. It's just that I wasn't putting out as much music that I used to put out back in the day, and the remixes weren't coming in as they used to, you know. And most of that reason why is because everything started to go online, you know. Record labels weren't paying enough money now to do remixes as well, and the music started to change. Music started to get a bit harder. So they were going for more. Those harder DJs doing more tribal house and all that, you know. And the independent labels, really, you know, it's like wasn't that really much going on. Really, things just changing, man. As soon as the MP3 thing started to land and all that, things just got different, man.
Well, you know what they said. This is the cliche. Why go out and buy the milk if I have the cow right in my backyard? Think about that. Why would you go buy records now when you could download for free?
No? Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. A lot of people downloading music for free. I was still buying my music and all that. We still had to go out and buy music, but then it started to get into this thing that everyone's getting CDs now. CDs, getting promo CDs. I still get my promos all the time because I was getting so much tune sent to me. You know what I mean? But then it started to go into the CD thing. Everyone's getting promo CDs and all that. But everything went back to independent anyway. Most producers back then from the 2000s weren't doing a lot of major stuff again. You know what I mean? A lot of us wasn't. A lot of us weren't getting all them big remixes again. Not even Masters at Work.
No, I know.
You know?
Because now a gentleman named David Guetta changes the game with his sound. And then you have Swedish House Mafia, and this is all
Yeah.
you know.
Bit more commercial house kind of, you know.
So our music went real underground to a point where it was non-existent, basically.
Yeah. The clubs went back underground. Anything went back underground, mate. You know, clubs are going back to underground kind of vibes. You know what I mean? Back to the old school kind of vibes that it was back in the day. You know, so yeah, things change, man. After a little while, you know, but you have to go with the flow and follow the technology. I'm always about technology, man. I move with the times. You know what I mean? I don't really like to be stuck in the times. I like to move with everything. What's moving right
Sure,
now?
you don't know what's going to happen. You just
That's right.
you're on that. It's like this. Everyone, you're on the wave, and you're on your surfboard, and you're going and going and going and going and going, and then all of a sudden the wave starts to drop. You're still up there,
Trying to keep your head above water.
right? But eventually, as it drops, you got to join the party. You know? And some people couldn't sustain staying in this game anymore because there was just no game to be had.
Yeah. But me personally, I think it's the love. You have to love this thing still. For you to stay in the game, you have to love it, you know? Listen, I've got to send big shout outs to the UK Garage Massive as well. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for them, they kept my music alive, my production alive. I've got to send shout outs to the Carl Browns, the Spoonies, all these guys that we've been playing my music, the Jeremy Sylvesters, the Grants, all these guys and the Matt Jams. I've got to give all them guys shouts in the UK because they supported my music and they all played my music back in the day, you know, and that's what helped me to still be where I am today. To know that, you know, I can still do this. People love what I do. You know what I mean? So I've got to give shout out to the UK, all the UK DJs, all the UK people who supported me. Enough respect, love you like food, man. You know what I mean? I'm really grateful for that support and I'm humble as well. You know, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's
You know?
true. That is so true. Without the
You know?
without the people supporting us, there'd be no reason for us to step out of our house.
Yeah.
Be part of their thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something very important. You know, I know you're very proud of
Yeah.
the road to Grammy nomination.
Mm.
You have, let's put it like this: you carved your way into the history books of dance music, but eventually you make your way into the overground because to do the Grammy, it's a big honor.
Yeah. It's
What was that
big
like?
honor, man.
What record was it that got you there to achieve
Soul
it?
to soul, soul to soul, soul to soul, back to life. You know, I've got to send a big shout out to Jazzy because he's another one who was there when I first came to the studio and asked him if I could do some work for him and that. You know, Jazzy has always had my back. I've got to show him big love and all the Soul to Soul crew, HQ, you know, Dada, all them guys have helped me in my career. You know, I used to have a studio in their premises in the Soul to Soul building as well. I had a little setup in Soul to Soul building. But, you know, being nominated for a Grammy is overwhelming, man. It was so overwhelming and just meant for me that I'm glad that I stuck to what I'm doing. I love making music. Even if I'm not making no money, I'm still going to be making music because I love doing it. It's something I just love doing, you know. And if I stopped, like a lot of producers stopped back in the day, I would never have been nominated. So I'm really grateful for this, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm thankful, you know, I'm humble, you know, and got to send a big shout out to Jazzy as well for hooking this back to life thing up, you know, because we sat down and spoke about it.
But did you have to be a Grammy member to be nominated, or this was they did that?
No, what happened was there's a guy, bloody hell, what's his name again? You know, I forgot his name. It'll come to me in a minute. There's someone who's a member of the Grammys said to me that this track here, Soul to Soul, it's a big tune. It's a big tune. You know, I really love it. I reckon it can get nominated for a Grammys and that. You know, and I just kind of fobbed it off, kind of thinking, I don't know, it's just gonna work. You know, But he said, no, man, he's a member and all that. Let me submit it to them and all that. And I told Jazzy about it. Jazzy kind of just excused it as well, kind of thing. But then after I thought about it, and I thought, nah, this guy's really into what we done and what I've done. He's really supporting this tune. So he did the right thing. He submitted it. He took all the details and everything, got all the details from Jazzy, and he submitted it to the Grammys and all that. And then a couple of months later, got nominated.
Woo.
Got nominated. Yeah, that was the best thing for me, man. I was really happy. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. I've got my mind's like a sieve at the moment, bro. I can't remember this
But
guy's
you're
name.
doing a good thing. You're doing a really good thing. You remembered a lot of good things.
Yeah, a big shout out to my bro who got it. So who submitted it to the Grammys. Yeah, I forgot his name, man, but big love to you anyway. If you're here watching, you know what I mean? Big love to you, man. And thank you.
The person that submitted it for Booker, let us know.
He'll hit you up, man. He'll hit you up. Someone will tell you in a minute.
Booker, did your life change after the Grammy nomination?
Pardon?
Did your life
yeah, kind of. What it did for me got me more gigs, really. You know what I mean? Never got me much major remixes. Got a few remixes there, a few remixes. My prices are shot up. I'm not gonna lie, money's gone up and all that. But it's not even about the money, man. I just love doing this. This is something I love doing. I've had loads of breakup with relationships because of this, man. I've put this first before a lot of people. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry for everything that I've done to all the ladies. I put my music before them. It wasn't intentional, but I do love this. But the Grammys now, man, I'm just so overwhelmed by it and all that. And it's really good that so much people supported me from America. A lot of American DJs and producers really gave me a lot of props, and a lot of British and a lot of people from all around Europe just gave me props. You knew me and all that, and I'm really grateful for that.
Moving forward, the next 10, 20 years in front of you, what do you predict for yourself? What do you think you're going to be?
Doing the same thing, man. Making music, DJing for a bit, and concentrating on more producing artists and all that. I've got a lot of projects going on anyway at the moment, I've got an album. I'm doing my album at the moment, which people's going to see that next year. And that's going to be different. It's going to be a mixture of everything. I've done a few remixes there for a few people here and there, A lot of people's hitting me up for mixes at the moment. I'm just going to be continuing doing the same thing, man, DJing. I'm grateful, when it's time for me to bow out the music scene, I'll bow out gracefully, like Simon Dunmore.
Do you still feel you're cutting edge, personally?
Do I feel it from a cutting edge still, yeah? Kind of. Everyone says they know my style now, man. I'm trying to change it up a little bit, But I'm listening to what's going on out there as well. There's loads of good music coming out there, especially on the Afro house scene, the Amapiano, and the deep house. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. Even some of the up-tempo house as well. There's loads of good music coming out, man. So people just trying to mix and blend, maybe mixing a bit of Detroit house with Chicago house. A lot of that old school stuff are coming back as well. So, yeah, man, music's here, man. I'm just lapping it up and loving it, man. I'm just doing what I love doing. I don't know how long I'm going to do it for. As long as I'm living, I'm going to be still just doing the same thing. This is all I know. I don't know nothing else, bro.
Well, that was the other question I was going to ask you. Yeah. If you didn't do this, what would you been doing your whole life right now?
I might have been a bit of chef. I used to be a chef back in the day. I used to be a chef, yeah. Yeah, I used to be a chef, man, and I got sick and tired of cooking, man. Them hot kitchens and all that, man, did my head in. But yeah, I think that's that.
What kind of food did you specialize?
Italian food, doing Italian food, all different kind of food, man. It wasn't for me, I did it for a few years. I used to work at this hotel in Sloane Square called the Carter Towers Hotel, and Army and Navy. I did that when I was young, but it wasn't for me, man. I just got into the music thing, and when I got into the music, I never ever looked back. I never ever said I'm going to give up, because I don't give up. I do what I do,
What's the story with the Kings of Soul label?
I mean, Liquid Deep. Kings of Soul is my little. Kings of Soul is like, you got Masters at Work. Kings of Soul are like, that's me. That's my little other production name I use. Got Inner Souls. I've got Kings of Soul. I've got Underground Mass. But a lot of stuff is done by Booker T. Yeah, it's all Booker T. Underneath Booker T. Umbrella, yeah. And then I've got the label. Then I've got the label Liquid Deep, which I've got a few tracks coming. I've got a couple of tracks with Lee Wilson coming. I've got a few more cuts that I've done. I've done about 4 songs with Kenny Bogan right now. So there's 2 he's got for his label. And I've got 2 more for my label. I've got a few songs with Lee Wilson as well.
Are you still working the same way with bringing vocalists in, or are you doing everything over Skype and stuff?
Well, what I do is more time I send them the beat. If I can get them, what I usually do, I can't record here, but I've got a mate who's got a great setup. So if any artists are here that I want to work with, if they've got the time, we'll try and link up, sort something out, and I'll bring them to the studio so I can work there. I prefer to work with artists direct instead of giving them something for them to work over by themselves, So if I send something to Kenny, they'll do it in their studio in New York and do what they do. I don't really like working like that. I like to be there. So if I hear something that I can change a bit, or something to make it sound a bit better, just put my little 2 pence in and that, But most of the time, that's how we're doing it now. Technology again. Back in the day, what did we used to do? We used to post our dance. It takes about 5 days, 6 days to get to you. You know what I mean? Now you say send me a tune and you get it in 10 minutes.
Not even 3 seconds.
Yeah, 3 seconds. See?
Whenever it takes uploaded 40 seconds to get across, in like 1 minute, you have a new song right in your hands. Like, wow.
Yeah.
You still doing stuff the same way like you did in the 90s, or you changed your production skills now?
I changed it, man. Most of the stuff now I haven't got no more samplers and all that stuff. Everything's done in the box now, you know what I mean? I've got a powerful Mac and all that. So, I've got like a SSL setup controller. I've got SSL setup as well. So, most of everything I do, it's all in the box. So when I go in that box, everything that happens there goes in that box. Master, mix down, and everything in the box. Save time.
Are you mixing all your own stuff too? Are you doing the final mixing?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do most of the mixing. If there's something that's a bit complex for me, I'll get one of my mates to come around who I know is good, and he'll help me out and all that. But most of the stuff, because it's independent, most of the stuff I do it myself. If it was like for majors now or something like that, a bit different, more or less we'll just hire a bigger studio and that, you know what I mean? But in this day and age, man, you can't tell it. All right, let me tell you something. Grammy's tune was mixed in my house, right? Back to Life was mixed here. Back to Life was mixed on this, mate. Right? It wasn't mastered. I didn't master it, but I mixed that here. So it shows you, you know what I mean? Where you don't need a big studio nowadays to do most of your stuff. You might need a big studio if you've got band and musicians and all that stuff there, but if you're doing a lot of stuff digitally, you don't really need a big studio.
So you are comfortable with you mixing your own stuff, just like you used to do in the 90s?
Yeah, man. That's how I learned. I didn't have no one else to do it. The only time I did mix my own stuff is when I was using the SSL decks, when I was using Swan-Yard, when I was working at all the Matrix studios, right? Maison Rouge, Metropolis, when I worked at Sam West and all that. I didn't do the engineering. I had a friend called Mark Franks. He's one of the top engineers in London, right? Any big thing I'm doing, he's the man I'm gonna call to come in and engineer and mix down all those big discs, But like independent stuff, I just do it by myself, man, at home.
Incredible. Booker, did we miss anything? I don't think we missed anything. I think you told it and laid it all out.
Have I?
I think
I haven't told you about my DJ. I haven't told you about my DJing in Italy with Claudio Coccaluto and them guys, and
you can tell us.
linking up with DJ Ralph, Ivan Iacobucci and them guys. I used to play in Italy all the time, man. I played all over Italy. I love Italy, man. Italy was the place to go as well. Me, Paul, Bobby and Steve, Ricky, we always flying out there every month. I've got to send a big shout. Yes, this is another thing as well. I've got another guy who inspired me to make house music as well. I've got to give him up to Frankie Fonset, man. Frankie Fonset is another man who inspired me big time on the house scene, making house music. Got to give him his flowers because he's been there from from day one, man. He was another one who inspired me to make house music. Him, CJ McIntosh is another one that inspired me to make house music. I could give big props to CJ because he's done a lot of things that a lot of us ain't done. I don't know if you've interviewed him yet, but you need to interview him, man. You know, because he's worked. Yeah.
As in Chris McIntosh?
Chris McIntosh.
I want to get him, but I don't know.
Listen, man, get him, man. He's gonna come. He'll come on there, man. He's worked at Basic in New York with Masters. You know what I mean? He's worked at a lot of studios. You know, we both worked at Soundwest together. You know, and that's when I knew I was on the next level. When I was working in the same studio with CJ, that's when I knew I was on the next level. You know what I mean? Because Soundwest is not like a little studio; it's a big studio, man. You know what I mean? 48-track systems in there and all that. CJ was upstairs, I was downstairs we both was in different studios, you know. And
tell people how much it costed per day to have that room under your to lock
1500 a day, mate. And back in them days, that was a lot of money. 1500 a day, 1,000 to 1500 a day. That's an engineer, tape op, a boy who does the tape machine and all that. You know, it's costing £1,500 a day, man. So you had to make sure you knock out your tunes or get all your ideas done. You have to make sure you get all your ideas done before you hit that studio to mix down or whatever you're going to do or to add extra stuff in there because it wasn't cheap, man. And I had that studio like 4 days sometimes, remixing, doing 2 tracks, trying to knock off 2 tracks in 4 days. And or maybe even 5.
Yeah. That's what you try to do. You try to get them done. You come in with
and any studio time you get left over, you just try to do your own stuff for your own independent labels. If you want to do something for Strictly or anything, try and see if you can get it done in this. You know, any leftover studio time you're taking, man, you do it down there. And plus, I had stacks of equipment, so I used to bring all my equipment down there as well. And that took a day. That took like loads of hours because I had 3 samplers, I had the drum machine, I had keyboard modules and all that as well, like the JV 1080, the JV 2080. I had loads of modules, the M1 cords and all that. So I had all these stuff in modules, and I had to wire all that up. It's like wiring up a sound system. I had to wire all that up through the desk before we started to get everything doing. You know what I mean? So I did all my pre-production in my home studio, well, in the studio that me and my mate had back in the day. So when we did that, we took everything to the big studio now and wire up there, and then we start to bring everything up on the desk, and that's what we did on all our mix stands. It's a lot of work, man.
Children, listen to this carefully. 1,500 plus the engineer's cost too for mixing.
Yeah. 1,500, man. Like 5,000 to 1,500.
Right. It was like £2,500 a day.
To
have that room going 24/7.
Yeah. Lockout. I call it lockout, man. Lockout for the day.
Do the math. So man. 4 days, he's already at £10,000.
Yeah. And he still ain't been. And remember, you're charging them on top as well. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of money, man. Back in them days, the money was good, but it was a lot of work, and the work was harder. The work was much harder, man. Back in them days, but if you used to get vocals, if you get vocals at 96 BPM, it's not like how you got it now that you can just throw everything in the computer and time stretch it. You had to time stretch on a sampler. You had to take out your calculator and work it out on your calculator, then start chopping every beat on every key and time stretching everything one by one. And that took hours. That took like 5-6 hours. That alone, that's just a daytime.
Taking the air out in between each word to get it to be on time to speed it up. Oh.
Right. And you were laying out each track on the key, you know? It was a lot of work, man.
So your pre-production time would be 3 to 4 days, 5 days maybe to get ready to go and mix for 2 days.
Well, my pre-production time was 1 day, get everything done, 2 days. If I'm doing one remix, I'll get everything, all the music and most of the ideas done. Then we'll go to the big studio to mix down. Or what we'll do, we'll bring all the equipment there and we'll still might be adding more stuff because we might want to do a dub after, you know what I mean? So we've got everything there. So what we usually do, we go there. We've got all the ideas done already. So what we do is bringing up everything and trying to mix it down on the desk, bouncing it to tape and mixing from the tape. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be you might want to add some more strings, or you might want to add some piano, or you want to make the beat a bit more fast. So, you know, you never know what you want to do when you get down there, man, to make the music sound better. You know, because what sounds good in your studio doesn't sound the same in another studio.
But we're using live instruments. We're using live players with their instruments to come in and tracking stuff, or you just basically everything was all MIDI.
So we had some live instruments and all that, but it wasn't really that much. It was mainly everything was MIDI played, man. Most of the stuff was all played MIDI, you know. And that was another expense as well, man. Because anyone you're bringing in, I'm trying to deal with costs here, you know what I mean? So bringing in musicians and all that, man, it wasn't. You know, the budget that we was getting, we didn't want to spend that budget money on bringing the musicians. So we tried our own thing, and you know, it worked for us. You know.
Well, that's the thing. The more the less expense, the more you kept.
Yeah, man, that's right. You know what I mean? Too much musicians, man. It's just more money. And when you're bringing in musicians, they were charging a lot of money back then. You know, studio time, musicians. You know what I mean? Good thing I can program. After the engineers got to get paid. Imagine I had a programmer. We had to pay him as well. And the budget's just looking lower and lower. Nah, it was, but you know something, man, I'll never change what happened. All those days, they were all good times. Good times. Meeting you, meeting all the Americans I met, all my heroes of America, like you, Smack. You know what I mean? I've never changed that for anything, man. It was the best times of my life.
Golden.
You know? The 90s is the best. Me personally, 90s are the best for house music, man. It was the best.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I went Winter Music Conference, all of us hanging out at the Winter Music Conference, you know. It was the best, man. I played at Garage Seat at the Winter Music Conference, man. Can't get better than that, man. Playing at the Winter Music Conference, road testing your latest remix, you know, and you got Kenny Dope and Louis Vega on the same remix, looking down at you saying, shit, what the fuck's this? Sorry about the switch. Shit,
that's
what's
exactly
this?
What was going. What is this, Booker? What the hell is this?
What the hell is this?
I don't know what
the hell. I mean?
I was like, what
you know,
Booker's
what's this tune? You know what I mean? Because I did the remix. Yeah, this was a Jody Watley remix we did for Atlantic, Off the Hook, and then we did it for New York. I did it for Atlantic New York. I didn't do it for here. I did it for America. You know, and Master of Work re-recorded it. It sent me all the vocals, parts, and all that because she had to re-sing it. You know, and when I got it, I did my thing on it. You know, and I first played it in Miami. When I we went to Miami. I just got a test press from Gene Branch from East West. So he gave me a test press. It was all mastered and all that. I dropped it at night at Garage City. Paul Trouble was playing that night as well. You know, they were the best time for me, man. Playing at Garage City and all them parties, they were the best time for me.
Booker, one thing I want to bring up before we leave you. I saw a picture of you standing by Gordon Mack and that new plaque they laid down for Trouble. Where exactly did they do that?
That was in Camden. That was in Camden Town. So for just recognizing Paul and Gordon for the things that they've done, you know what I mean? It's like just recognizing what they've done in Camden and what they've done for the scene and all that. Because Kiss FM was really around North London, Camden side and all that. And Paul grew up around that side as well. Camden, Paul's DJ'd at most clubs around the Electric Ballroom and all that, random sides and that, you know what I mean? So, you know, it was like a plaque for loads of singers and artists and all that as well.
So we must.
When you come to London, make sure you go down there and have a look, man.
I am gonna go look because I saw that I saw you there standing above. They put it in the ground on.
Yeah.
Beautiful plaque for him. He deserved it. He did a lot for the scene.
Paul did a lot for the scene.
A tremendous amount for the scene.
He didn't get the record. He didn't get the record. Me personally, I don't think he got the recognition.
That's usually how it is in life. You don't get the flowers when you're living. It's when you're gone.
It's when you're gone, in it. Yeah, it's true.
That's why we have True House Stories. Because trust me, if he was here, he would be on telling us.
That's right. Paul's done a lot, man. He's very inspirational to me as well. You know what I mean? I used to go to his shows when he used to do his shows at Kiss FM and see him live in the mix. He used to get so much tunes, man. I used to ask him for tunes as well. He would never give me, you know what I mean? But he used to get loads and loads and loads of tunes, man.
He would get stuff while it was in production. It wasn't even finished.
That's right.
He was testing stuff.
That's right. Road testing that, man. Yeah. He's even got stuff now. There's stuff that I know he's got that he's left behind that would never come out.
Oh
Never
yeah,
ever been out. You know?
tons of stuff. Tons
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah. You know,
Booker,
so
man, I can't thank you enough, brother. I think you covered a hell of a lot of history.
thank you. Thank you for having me, bro. Big thank you. You know what I mean, Lenny? We got
Yeah.
back long time, man. It's a pleasure, you know what I mean, bro? It's even pleasure knowing you and getting to know you and being around you and all that, and hooking up and all that, bro. You know, the main thing, we're all still here.
Totally.
You know, we're
As
still
long as
here,
we're
man.
breathing,
So
we're still gonna keep doing what we do. Make that music.
yeah, that's
Play.
all I know, man. That's all I'm gonna do, bro. Make music, and just feel happy. I'm happy when I make music. You know, I'm really happy.
Well,
Got
now
to send a big shout out to.
we
Eh?
now know you're Cooker T. Cooker T cooking up that music. Cooker T.
Cooking up, man. Always cooking, but it's Booker T. It's always going to be Booker T. But I do cook up music, you know. But
Where
I've
did,
got to send a. Eh?
wait, where'd the name? Who bestowed Booker on you?
No, that's my last name, bro. My name's Gary Booker.
Yeah, I know. Instead of being Gary Booker, why did we call
But
you?
I put the T in. No, it's just a thing. You know, you Booker T Washington, Booker T Jones, Booker T and the MGs. You know, so I said, let me just join them. Booker T. You know, my friends just call me Booker at school, and I just put the T on as a
Booker.
DJ thing. You know, yeah.
Booker.
What's happening, books? What's happening, books? What's happening, Booker? You know, so what I did was just put the T on the end, and that
Gotcha.
was it. Yeah.
Wicked.
You
Okay,
know,
see, because people want to know that stuff. I knew it was Gary Booker, but I want people to
yeah.
know how's Booker T. Yes, and you got to thank everyone and your shout outs before I let you go. Anybody you want to shout out that you forgot?
Yeah, let me shout out to Michael Gray, man, because I knew him from a little while as well. Big shout out to Michael, because I used to work at DMC Studios as well back in the day and all that. Did some work up there and all that. Got to know Michael Gray and all that. Big shout out to him. Big shout out to Ricky, Bobby and Steve, you know. Big shout out to Frankie Fonset, CJ, McIntosh. These are the guys that really inspired me, get me into the music. I send a big shout out to Nikki Tracks as well. Luke Coke, Nikki Tracks, Future Tracks, did a track with her called Give Me Joy. You know, she helped me out as well. You know, Luke Coke as well. Final Solution. Big shout out to rest in peace, Phil Asher, rest in peace, Paul Trouble Anderson. You know, got to know Phil Asher from back in the day as well. Big shouts to all the labels out there that signed my stuff back in the early 90s. You know, really appreciated that you believed in my music. You know, a big shouts to Dave Pachoni as well, for signing my first single. Big shouts to Ferdy. You know, we gave him my shot. You know, Dean Gillard that used to work for Universal. Steve Wolf used to work at Universal. Lisa Ladd used to work at Virgin. Big shout out to Gene Branch, Nancy Noyes, all that crew back in the day, you know. The Farleys and Ellas who signed my stuff at Junior Boys and Terry Farley. Big shouts to everyone anyway, you know what I mean? Love, big up Mickey D as well. He was the one who hooked me up with Freddie Shannon and Jerome Sydenham and all that. I hanged out with Freddie as well, Freddie and Charles Dawkins in New York back in the day as well. So big shout out to Freddie, big shout out to Charles Dawkins and that, you know. And big shout out to Eddie Perez as well for having me around your studio, man. Bare love, got bare love for you, bro.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You're now part of the alumni of True House Stories.
True House Stories. Mm-hmm.
And we got your story detailed and clear, and it was a pleasure hearing it from you. The inside nooks and crannies of what got you to where you are now and where you came from. That's the most important, because it's not how you got there, you know, or the ending. It's a lot of it's where you started to get there and the dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still staying there, being there as well, still staying, you know what I mean? Still being positive to the scene and that, you know? You know, I love this scene, man. I love house music. I really do. I love the vibes. I love the atmosphere. I love the excitement of it, you know? Just everything I love about it, man. So, you know, I'll be here, man. I'll always be here making house music. I'll be here trying to get as much DJing as possible before I drop off the earth. But, you know, I'm here.
Congratulations, and I'm not gonna tell you stop, you know, because what are you gonna stop and do? You're gonna go make another record. That's what you're gonna stop and do.
That's what I'm gonna do, man. Can't stop, won't stop, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
Next week, Robert Cavillis of CNC Music Factory coming on. Not next week, sorry, 2 weeks. True House Stories, October 25th. We have ADE next week already. Oh my God, ADE time. And to everybody in the UK and around the world, a good night. Stay
Good
blessed.
night.
Thank you, Mr. Booker, man.
Thank you too.
Pound it. Everyone, take care. See you October 25th right here for another True House Stories. Robert Cavillis.